Welcome in, everybody. Okay, so we're diving right into the AWS Certified AI Practitioner exam. You probably know it as the AIF C01. And look, let's be real, the surface area on this thing is absolutely massive. It covers everything from foundational machine learning mechanics all the way to the bleeding edge of generative AI. It can definitely feel overwhelming, but honestly, that's exactly why we're here today. Think of this explainer as your ultimate strategic master plan. We're going to map out exactly how to study smarter, not harder, using the absolute best insights from our source materials.
So, I've just got to ask you right out of the gate, are you really genuinely ready to pass this exam? Because here's a crucial secret that catches a lot of candidates totally off guard. Knowing exactly how to attack the exam material is just as important as memorizing the facts themselves. You need a targeted strategy, and well, that's exactly what we're building right now.
All right, here is our tactical operation for today's explainer. 1. The exam blueprint. 2. AI core concepts. 3. The ML pipeline. 4. Bedrock versus SageMaker. And finally, 5. Securing the AI perimeter. Basically, we're starting by analyzing the battlefield map and ending with establishing our defensive perimeter. Let's get moving.
Section 1. The AIF C01 Exam Blueprint. Let's look at exactly where you need to be investing your study time.
Okay, so there's a serious 80-20 rule in effect for your study plan here. If you look at this data, domains 2 and 3 make up a whopping 52% of the entire exam. I mean, that is literally more than half your score just sitting right there. And definitely keep your eyes on domain 3, sitting at 28%. That's the application of foundation models. Our sources make it super clear. This is the single largest, most technical chunk of the test. It's kind of like the heavily weighted final boss, So you absolutely have to allocate your time for that.
Moving right along to Section 2, AI Core Concepts Demystified. Time to master those foundational mechanics.
You really need to draw a hard line in the sand in your mind for this one. On the one side, we've got traditional machine learning, right? This solves problems through statistics and math for well-defined tasks. Think predicting numeric values, which is regression, or categorizing data, which is classification. And actually, quick side note, a huge pitfall the Sailor blog calls out is candidates getting classification and regression mixed up. So definitely don't fall for that one. Now, on the flip side, we have generative AI. This is a whole different beast. It creates net new content from learned data using massive foundation models. Understanding this split is just absolutely crucial, because AWS is going to heavily test your ability to read a business problem and map it to the exact right conceptual AI solution.
All right, let's do a quick rapid-fire flashcard round. You need to map these high-level AWS managed services to their use cases for some incredibly easy exam points. Ready? Recognition? Think images and video analysis. Textract? That's your OCR for pulling text out of documents. Comprehend? That is natural language processing, specifically for finding sentiment or PII data in text. Lex is going to be for building your chatbots. Transcribe literally turns speech into text. And Poly? That does the exact reverse, turning text into lifelike speech. Lock these pairings in your brain for sure, because AWS loves to test if you know, say, your comprehend from your recognition.
Section 3. Mastering the ML pipeline. This is exactly how we're going to conquer Domain 1. Let's trace the journey of an ML project. Step 1, you identify the goal to actually meet a business objective. Step 2, you frame the problem, like figuring out what kind of model you even need in the first place. Step 3 is collecting the data. Now, our sources emphasize this data usually lands in Amazon S3, and you'll probably use AWS Glue for that whole ETL process. Extract, transform, load. Then we hit step 4, pre-processing. This is just where you clean your data up. Pro tip for the exam here, if they ask how to anonymize sensitive PII data during this step, Amazon Mossy is your go-to tool. Oh, and Glue Data Brew is what you want for visual data preparation.
Moving right into the back half of that pipeline, Step 5 is engineering features to help the model learn better. Step 6, train and evaluate. When you're evaluating, you're looking at error metrics. So for example, you'd want a really low MSE, or mean squared error, for predictive regression models, just to know your predictions are actually close to reality. Step 7 is deploy, and you're often going to use API Gateway to expose your model there. And finally, Step 8, monitor. This is where SageMaker Model Monitor comes in to watch out for things like data drift, where the input data itself changes, or concept drift, where the actual relationship between your inputs and outputs fundamentally shifts on you.
All right, on to Section 4, Bedrock versus SageMaker. It is time to bring in the Domain 2 heavy artillery.
Listen up, because this slide addresses a massive, super common exam pitfall. You absolutely have to know the difference between Amazon Bedrock and SageMaker Jumpstart. It's like night and day.
Amazon Bedrock is completely serverless. You just access foundation models via a single API and you pay per token. Easy. On the flip side, SageMaker Jumpstart gives you pre-trained models, but, and this is a big but, it requires you to actually deploy and manage endpoints on EC2 instances yourself. So if an exam scenario asks for the lowest operational overhead for a foundation model, boom, Bedrock is always your answer.
Now, for that highly tested Domain 3, you've got to understand model customization. Here is the golden rule right out of our study notes. If you need a model to incorporate updated external factual data to stop it from hallucinating, you use RAG. That's Retrieval Augmented Generation. It pulls in private documents right at runtime. But if you need to stabilize the model's behavior, or maybe teach it a really specific domain style like legal jargon, or just improve task accuracy, then you use fine-tuning. Fine-tuning actually adjusts the underlying model weights using labeled data. So just remember, facts equals RAG, style equals fine-tuning.
Here's another highly testable GenAI concept for you: inference parameters. Please, whatever you do, do not confuse these two. Temperature scales the overall randomness across all the tokens. So a higher temperature simply makes the output more creative and unpredictable. Top P, however, is a probability restriction. It limits the model's token choices to a specific cumulative probability threshold, which balances diversity with accuracy. Basically, if you want consistent randomness across the board, you tweak temperature. If you want adaptive diversity that still stays close to likely outcomes, you adjust Top P. Make sense?
Okay, bringing it home with Section 5, Securing the AI Perimeter. This covers domains 4 and 5, representing 28% of your score.
I really want to highlight another major exam trap right here. Both of these are responsible AI tools, sure, but they solve completely different problems. SageMaker Clarify is designed specifically for classical machine learning. You use it for bias detection and model explainability. Bedrock Guardrails, however, is built for generative AI. You use it for content filtering, restricting denied topics, and redacting PII for model responses. Like our sources explicitly point out, these are really easy points to win on the exam, but they are incredibly easy points to lose if you skip studying them. So don't mix them up on test day.
And hey, speaking of not mixing things up, let's look at some fundamental AWS security primitives. AI workloads use the exact same security foundations as the rest of AWS, so you need to know this stuff. The classic pitfall here is swapping CloudTrail with CloudWatch. AWS CloudTrail is your API activity logging. It literally answers the question, who did what? And it's absolutely essential for audits. Amazon CloudWatch, on the other hand, is for performance monitoring, tracking metrics, and operational logs. Remember it like this: Trail is for auditing actions, Watch is for monitoring performance. Simple as that.
Okay, let's bring this whole thing together. Here is your final, ultimate checklist for AIF C01 readiness. First, you've got to prioritize Domain 3. Remember, you should be allocating about 10 hours of a 30-hour study plan just for foundation models alone. Second, take full-length mock exams to track your domain-by-domain performance. According to the experts in our sources, you should only book the real test when you are consistently scoring above 75 to 80% overall, and crucially, with no single domain dropping below 70%.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Are your study hours actually aligned with the exam's true weight? I want you to take a hard look at your schedule today, really reevaluate your immediate study plan based on this blueprint, and then hit those practice exams with renewed strategic confidence. You've got the map, now it is time to execute. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy studying.